Hey, Coach, so glad you found us. Couple things. First of all, subscribe. Please go over and do that. That will keep you updated with everything that we're doing. Second thing is go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. If you want to put hardware in your basement, if you want to win more games, let me help you do that. I will give you my personal email address. We'll do one-on-one calls. We'll do office hours, less than $1 a day, 14-day free trial. Go over and check it out. Let's head off to the video.
Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Youth Hoops. I'm your host, Coach Bill Flitter. Today we have a guest, Cameron Korab. Cameron, welcome to the show.
Coach Bill, thanks for having me. I'm really excited, big fan, and excited to dive in.
And by the way, you're the first Bears fan that we have allowed on the
Bear,
show.
bear
But I
down.
would have to say, Steve, who's normally co-host with me, he is a Chicago Cubs fan.
Okay.
So there's a little, he's from Wisconsin too. He lives in Madison.
Okay.
Uh,
Hopefully his last name isn't Bartman, but we can be.
no. Oh my gosh. For our listeners, remind them of that situation. Or do we not want to talk about that anymore?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that the
that's in our
curse?
past. It's in our past.
In our past. All right, we'll move on.
Moved
The
on.
poor kid. Yeah. Cameron, for our listeners, tell us who you are.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Cameron Korab, as Bill said, a Chicago native. Really like to coin myself as trying to make youth sports better in all capacities. Currently at Made Hoops and also the founder of the Youth Sports Business Report. But very excited to sink my teeth in and sink my expertise into to really incite change in this youth sports world that I think is desperately in need. And I've I've talked to lots of people and they also are in that same camp. So putting my best efforts forward to make that happen every day.
And tell us about the Youth Sports Business Report. What is that?
Yeah, sure. So I came from a more traditional sports media and marketing at the professional and collegiate level at a company called Optimum Sports out of Chicago, where I was tuning in every single day to the front office sports of the world, SBJ, Sportico, um, and I was really able to get articulate in the marketplace, speak eloquently, if you will, to my clients and folks that I was talking to just in passing, really. And when I moved over to the U Sports space, I really could not find that. And, I was used to consuming, 5 or 6 articles a day, right? And I just didn't have that in the space. So, with the powers of technology these days, I was able to start that slowly. And now it's really kind of fill the need for myself. And I was like, okay, if I want it, I'm sure there's one
It's
other
got to be
person.
one other person, right?
I'd be one other person, right? And
Yeah.
and so the U Sports Business Report was born, and it's really taken off, becoming one of the leaders in the space of youth sports and youth sports business. Also trying to help coaches and parents and people try to navigate this space. And I've met a ton of awesome people along the way, and it's getting me one step closer to my goal of making youth sports better.
Yeah, awesome. And then you said you're also at Made Hoops.
Yeah,
What is
so
Made Hoops?
Made is when I came over from Optimum Sports, I was really looking to do something more entrepreneurial in spirit. I just graduated from business school and was actually close to becoming a management consultant. And by way of a partner, we had the CEO of Made Hoops, Chad Babel, incredible guy, incredible journey, incredible story, one of the hardest workers I know, pulled me in and said, "Hey, Cam, can you help us kind of grow this thing at Made Hoops?" And Made Hoops is the leader in grassroots basketball through and through. Largest platform on social. MADE stands for Maximizing Athletes Development and Exposure.
Hmm.
Obviously, goes into my core of helping youth sports.
Yeah.
So, it was a nice transition into the youth sports space. Albeit I didn't know everything that was going on in the space. I knew a little bit coming from the pro and collegiate level. But yeah, 3 years with Made and it's been an incredible journey, and we've helped it grow pretty rapidly, which is great. And I've once again I've seen guys like Cooper Flag come through our system
Mm,
and AJ DeBonsa, that have elevated to this next level, that is incredible. But then what's incredible about Made as well is you service that other 99%, right? And it's things like community camps and our non-for-profit that really stick out to me, and we're able to help kids relate to the content that's out there on social, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
there's tons of outlets out there that are posting number one kids, and that's tough for kids to kind of relate to. And I think Made does a great job of yes, we'll post that stuff because it's great, but also little Joey down the street we're going to post as well, because I want to see that. I want these kids to aspire to just be the best player they can be at the end of the day.
Yeah, and help us understand a little bit. There's a lot of coaches listening, parents listening right now. You know, we're chasing the dream, right? Chasing the dream of maybe a D1 scholarship or a scholarship.
Yeah.
Made hoops, and others are out there exposing kids to college coaches, and giving them an opportunity to play. Uh, what what do you think? Let's talk about first off, like raising a healthy athlete in that environment. Like,
Yeah.
what have you seen people who are doing it right? What does that look like? Or parents that are doing it right, and even coaches.
Sure. I mean, look, I've seen both sides of it.
Yeah, we're going to ask that
Yeah.
next, but we'll start with the
Yeah.
positive first.
Yeah, we'll start with the
It's
positive.
easy to talk about the negative because it's
Sure,
there,
sure.
right?
Um,
Yeah.
no, I mean, you know, and I'll maybe commenting and quote this a couple times, but I'm a big fan of Greg Olson and what he's doing over at You Think, and he's got some incredible talk tracks of, hey, if we're doing youth sports to create professional athletes, we're probably in the wrong, right? Like this
Right.
is
Yeah,
this is a
that's right.
space where there's a laundry list of accolades and things that you can skill sets that you can learn from this youth sports full journey. And I
Yeah.
think parents and coaches need to understand that before anything else, right? What skills, what learnings can these kids take from this youth sports experience, and what
Mhm.
can you instill into them? Because at the vulnerable age of 6 to 10 years old, right? Mom, dad, and coach are Bible, right? And you're
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
really, that's where your core and your roots are gonna come from. So if those coaches and those parents don't have that mindset, and look, there's the one percenters, right? Like that
Yeah.
are kind of on
Right.
the outside. Um, but just to know, right, the odds are not in your favor to have your kids go pro. And once again, I have a little 8 month old, and I want him to be a professional athlete or whatever. Uh, but I'll come to a realization, I hope one day, that my little guy, it might not go pro in whatever sport, right?
Yeah.
Like, but to have that mindset, I think, is super important to start.
That's a really good segue into setting expectations. So you have a player that approaches you, or a parent that approaches you. I want to play pro, or I want to play in college even, right?
Yeah.
What is that conversation like with that parent? And it's going to be, let's maybe tackle, let's say they are like maybe grade school going into high school at this point.
Yeah.
What are the expectations that you set?
Yeah, I mean, right. There's different layers to that, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
another content podcast that I was listening to. Right, it was
Hmm.
former NBA guys. It might have been like Tracy McGrady, to be honest, or maybe Perkins, and they were like, "Man, if you're dead set on going to the next level at a young age,
Hmm.
guess what? You got to spend X amount of dollars. You're giving up your social life. You're going to an academy. You're on the academy track, right? Like
Mm.
if if there's no option B, option A, right? Like that's what you're going to, and to set that expectation at a let's call it 10 to 12 years old, man, that's you only had 10 to 12 years to live as a kid, right? Like
Right,
that's
right.
incredible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, like that's different from when I played. That's definitely different, obviously, from
Yeah.
you played, right? That's the new norm if for those
Mm,
one percenters, right? That are
yeah. Yeah.
getting to the next level. But I think, for for people that don't have those resources available, right? It's there's the age-old debate of specialization, right?
Right. Yeah.
Where even playing two sports this in this day and age is rough, right? You
Yeah.
and that I think is that next tier, right? Of like, hey, you want to go to the next level? Well, are you going to specialize or are you not, right? I have a colleague of mine that is always says, hey, the travel teams, the youth teams in fifth to sixth grade, right? It's hard to argue against that those are not going to be the starters for your high school team if they only play that sport, right?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
because they're
Yeah.
so in tune with each other, they're so in tuned, with the sport itself. So I'd say that specialization is probably that second layer. And then the third would probably be something along the lines of like, hey, try everything out that you want. And if you X, Y, and Z sport don't work out and you got sport A, B, or C, right, that do, like, let's go after those, right? Let's it's just like, let's go to something you actually love and want to pursue and see what works out. And yeah, we'll try to evaluate and get as many resources as possible to you. But at the end of the day, you got to love what you want to do, and and without that passion and love, like that's why kids are burning out so quickly these
Yeah.
days.
Well, and how do you set the expectations though of you know, of this maybe a seventh and eighth grader who has that aspirations, but you as a coach, right? And you've seen a lot of players come through your program and made hoops, or it's just like, they're not that good,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They don't maybe don't have the mindset, or maybe they have the mindset, but not the talent just isn't there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Chicago guy, right?
Yeah,
There's a famous basketball player that played for the Bulls that I think got cut from his freshman and sophomore team, right? Like
right. Yeah,
there's that
yeah.
old expectations of like, hey, yeah, you want to be great. You might not, your body might not be there right now, right? But
Mm-hmm.
this sounds cliche, but if you keep working hard, right, and you dedicate the time and your mind really, like yeah, there's the reality of you could, let's take this in baby steps. Let's make your freshman team, right? And then let's make
Yeah.
your sophomore team, and then let's make your varsity team, right? But there's so many different avenues to go down. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
is really sidelined a lot of parents really that are ultimately, the pockets, the pocketbooks for some of these decisions and where these kids play.
Yeah, no, that's probably that's true. And then what about that? It's tough as a coach, right? You're a coach, you see those kids X amount of time per week, but
Mhm.
then, the parents and friends and maybe some other influencers, trainers, right, are in
Yeah.
their ear saying, "Hey, you can do it, you're the best," and then that's always that battle, right? And then,
Yeah.
maybe they're the sixth man off the bench, but wait a second, like you said, mom and dad, the Bible are telling me you're a
Yeah.
superstar, right?
Right.
One, what's the, are you, would you encourage coaches to, I guess, have those tough conversation with parents? What are you doing to set those expectations between you and the parent and those outside influences?
Yeah, I mean, the outside influences are always going to be there, right? Like you
Hmm.
can't really shut those up, right? I run a media company, and
That's
I
true,
know
right?
there's tons of
You don't
outside.
get all five-star reviews and this content
Yeah,
is right
no,
on,
right?
no?
Right. No, it's all happy and joy, and no one's barking up
Yeah.
my DMs all the time. So, right, you see it at the top level, and this is once again a cliche, but like those, I'm a Bears fan, right? Even like Caleb Williams
Sorry.
or someone that comes out and says like, we just don't listen to the outside noise, right? Like, so that's the influence part. I'd say. Um, to set the expectation of that for a coach, yeah, that's a tough conversation to have with a parent
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
thinks their kid is going D1 in seventh, eighth grade. Um, but right, like that coach, depending on the situation, right, is going to
Yeah.
be not their coach next year, right? Like,
Right.
and so, it's once again, it's play for the name on the front of your jersey, back of your jersey, like chicken and the egg, right? It's and especially with like reclassification and stuff like that. There's ways that these parents are kind of, working the system of, hey, like, yeah, my kid might not be that good right now, right? But
Hmm.
let's give them some more tools and maybe let's reclassify them to this age group or up or down or sideways. And let's see what they can really do at this. And, let's maybe set a time stamp.
Mm.
Right?
Right.
That's pretty harsh, but and you never want to burst anyone's bubble, especially a
I
12-year
know, right?
kid,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
because crazier things have happened. There's
Yeah.
all stories out there in all capacities, and I never want to be a parent, coach, whatever that tells a seventh grader you're just not good enough for making the NBA, right?
Yes.
And because once again, you hear those stories of these kids and that make any league, and they're like, you know what, my seventh grade teacher told me I wasn't going to amount to nothing. Um, so yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's 2 cents on that.
Well, let's talk about habits. I mean, that obviously you have to have, we call it habits or discipline, whatever word you want to use. If you had a program, or even just take Made Hoops,
Yeah.
and all the people that have come through there and the successful people, what do you think is the habit or discipline that they have to play at that next level?
Yeah, I think you see it even within our organization of the different tiers and the different teams, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Individuals, right, that are so locked in mentally. I think that's where it starts, right? You have to have
Mm.
a habit of mentally being prepared, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and just being ready to play, right, every day. And what that means to you is different from what it means to me. Is that 100 shots every morning? Is that weight lifts, sessions every 2 days? Is that
Mm. Hmm.
extra time in on the field or swimming or whatever. But that all starts for me mentally. And to go back to, Greg Olson and one of his lines was, I would much, much rather a player, I think he's a baseball coach for his son or
Yeah, for some, yeah. Hmm.
and he was saying, I would much rather, in some capacity, right, have my son go over 3, and I know he clocked in every single day before that game,
Mm.
getting his reps in, getting his T sessions, getting his whatever, right? Versus, hey, he was lazy this week, just showed up, and by pure, athleticism at this age, once again
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
went 2 for 3, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so there's that mindset of from a parent coach of like, hey, these are formidable years for these players, right? And whatever, under 18, right? Um, let's make sure we're doing we're instilling good habits for them to really grow, right? I was just
yeah.
at my nephew's flag football game the other day, and
Okay.
right,
Yeah.
there's certain rules that they follow and stuff, and you know some teams play by those rules and some teams don't play by those rules. But to me, it's like if you can set a base of like, hey, we're gonna, you know, learn the X's and O's, learn the blocking and tackling, if you will. That's gonna set them up for success in the long run. And once again, it's a slow burn, and it takes time. That's why muscles get big, right? The old cliche
Yeah.
of they rip and repair over time. That's what it takes, and there's no real substitution for it, as cliche as that sounds. I've seen it in business. I've seen it in, on the field and off the field.
And looking at the landscape of, this grassroots basketball, AAU, whatever you want to call it, right? That people call it club.
Mhm.
Uh, if you had to give, and again, across the board, you see a lot. You've traveled, I'm sure, with Made Hoops, gone to different tournaments, seen other tournaments, talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
If you had to give that whole concept a grade, what grade would you give it
In its current state,
in its current state?
I'll go with a solid overall, right?
Overall, yeah. There's
I,
obviously some F's and
yeah,
there's some
yeah,
A's,
for
right?
sure,
So,
sure. I give
yeah.
it a oh, I'll give it a B, but just on
Okay.
the cusp of a B minus. Adam Silver, Coach K, right?
Yep.
They've been in the media for the last 5 or 6 years saying this, right? Preaching this from the mountaintops of
Yep.
the basketball ecosystem, right? In the States um, is failing players, right? You're
Yeah.
seeing whatever this means, right? You could take or leave this, right? Like I'm sure people are on either side of the fence for this, but like the European model is better and they're, learning it at a young age and how the movement of the ball versus the American style of AAU ball and selfish ball and highlight culture and all that good stuff, right? Like that's a big that's in every single one of our meetings, right? At Made, right? We understand that we know that's out there, and we're trying to help solve that in whatever capacity that means by, tiering the layers of competition, right? We want you to play at the competition that you're able to play at, right? We offer the camp system and the community camps, right? That's to make sure we're instilling, once again, maximizing athletes' development exposure, we're instilling the best of the best and getting the best coaches and this stuff isn't cheap at the end of the day.
When you
um
say this stuff,
Camps to
okay.
play in the events,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But there's a real onus that at least speaking from Made that we take a lot of pride in at having the best experience that you could have, right? And
Yeah.
that's referees, that's check-in, that's highlights, that's hey, we have over 1.5 million followers on Instagram, and we don't care if you're Cooper flag. We just want good players to be showcased on our channels, right? Like there's a real cost to that, and to do it at such a high level, yeah, it's expensive, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not the same overseas where hey, most of it is
Yeah.
supplemented by government or brands or something in that nature. So yeah, I would
It's a
say
good point. Yeah.
the B to B minus grade is probably fair, but you know, I think we're hitting a peak here where more and more, we'll get into this a little bit later, but more of the brand ecosystem, the NBA, even to the highest levels of all sport, right, are taking notice of what this youth sports ecosystem actually is and can be, right? Like
Yeah.
the my report the other day, $54 billion, right?
Yeah.
27 million kids playing. Those numbers are not small, and uh, you know, in some capacity, if you do the math, that 55 billion number is bigger than the top four sports revenue combined, right? Like
It's just crazy.
it's
Yeah.
nuts. It's nuts,
Yeah.
and it's something that it needs more resources and it needs professionalism, I guess you could say, to kind of help structure it. And once again, I'm not saying the government should own everything or these individual, conglomerates should own everything. No, there's enough space for everyone to play nice in the sandbox. But to be able to navigate that as a parent, a coach, right now is just like, man, you need an AI tool just to understand where the next game is, right? Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like that should be the case. Um, and I think, other countries have caught up to the talent level, maybe in spite of that. So yeah, I hope that that gives you a well-rounded answer of that the question.
Well, yeah, and you know, as we said before, it's easy to talk about the negatives, and we can
Yeah.
point it out because they stand out a lot, and people are worried about, are we overworking our kids? You
Yep.
mentioned Coach K, right? He's on this big initiative now about changing, looking deeper into youth basketball as a country, and maybe reshaping it. And there's all these other initiatives, Sports 360 and all of that that are looking at all kinds of ways of improving sports, giving access to more kids in youth sports. Why do you think, even you said it changed for you? I'm a little bit older than you, and I mean, it's definitely different. We would go out and the idea of signing up for an AAU program,
Yeah.
it didn't exist, right? Or a
Right.
club program. It was calling your buddies up, or I even think about, because people always ask me, like, what did you, like, I'm so old, but what did you do? Like, how did you get everybody to get? I don't
Yeah.
remember, but
Right.
we were just there,
Right.
right? And we showed up at the playground and we played for
Yeah.
hours.
Right.
I'd watch, this is what I did. I would watch a game, NBA game, right?
Right.
And then go practice whatever I saw them do,
Yep.
right? And that was my training,
Yeah.
right?
No, 100%.
And I
Yeah.
had a passion for it. But
Yeah.
what, it changed for me to you. Now it sounds like you think it's changing as well.
I do.
What is that evolution, and why did that happen in your opinion?
Yeah. I think it's because of this little thing right here.
Okay. Oh, interesting. There's the first person that said that. I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and everything that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
Like we were talking before, I'm one of seven boys, right? My whole childhood was
You
outside
got
of,
a team.
yeah, getting my
Yeah.
head beaten by my older brothers and beating up on my little brothers.
Yeah.
Uh, and like you said, like that just happened organically, and I
Yeah.
became an athlete because of that, right? I learned invaluable skills that, they
Yeah.
can't teach you in a $300 training lesson, right? How
Yeah.
to get through a screen without getting smashed by your older brother. Right? Like,
An elbow to the face and all of
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh, trust me.
Accident though.
Yeah. My mom, thank goodness, was a nurse at the time, so took care of all the scrapes and bruises. But
She had to be. I mean, it was
she,
seven boys.
by
Yeah.
just proxy, right?
Yeah.
But no, I think the evolution, as we were articulating to it, it's changing technology, social media. Um, what you see online is in these kids' minds, right? Once again, Bible or law when they get access to that, right? Like, oh, I'm seeing a highlight from whatever outlet out there.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
says, I need to be dunking by eighth grade, right? Like that's that's crazy to me, right? Like, and it's just I think there's a good and evil to social media and whatever. Like that's
Right.
it. So we could have a whole nother
Yeah,
8 hour.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I honestly attribute a lot of the change to that, right? Like you're able
Hmm.
to get out a lot more content or visibility of XYZ. And hey, if you have an influencer or dollars behind this program or whatever it might be, right? Like you can get that in front of a lot of unmolded minds and that can cause the hey, if I want to get to this next level I have to play for this team, right? I have to buy X, Y, or Z to do
Mm.
that, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and that's just the way of the world now, and to combat that I guess you could, like, yeah, there needs to be more access to sport, more the ability for more kids to play more sports, right? And that's you see that popping up everywhere, right? From IMG Academy to the team at Aspen Institute and Project Play. Like that's why that's happening, because of the core root of specialization. And there are other outlets for kids to do stuff, and that's great. But I think sport, selfishly, growing up playing, really opened a lot of doors for me and set the stage for who I am today and what, once again, very
Yeah.
cliche. Like it's true. Like there's no way around it.
And I always think about the approach to youth sports. Like I never, there's probably maybe, actually there is. There's three instances. I've been coaching for 17 years
Wow.
where I thought, okay, this person has potential.
Yeah.
The mindset,
Yeah.
the physicality, and
Hmm.
the IQ and again, this was basketball. Two girls, one boy. One of them made it Division One. Uh, Another who was probably pound for pound the best athlete I've ever trained was a girl, burned out high school. And one is young right now. She's a freshman who has just God-given talent,
Hmm.
but no interest in playing at the next level. Like
Yeah.
I laugh because, and I talked to her mom on a regular, mom played, and her mom's not pushing her either, but it's just so funny to watch her effortlessly on the
Yeah.
court. And
Right.
it's beautiful. It's like a solo ballet going on, right? And
Right.
she's like,
Love that.
and she's happy.
Right.
And but yet she'll, slit your throat on the court too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
we were I just, it's like you get excited as a coach, you get excited for those opportunities because, you have to think about this young lady who, we worked on this drill. It was simple, simple, simple rebounding drill, turn to the outlet. Okay. And this was when she was in seventh grade, seventh or eighth grade, seventh grade. And she, I mean, I have never seen she had to be in my mind, fishtails, but she had to be close to touching the rim. God, she's tall, right? Very athletic. Grabbed that rebound, turned almost in one motion in the air, threw it to the outlet, and the point guard just went up and scored. She
Yes.
comes up my side of the bench, big smile on her face, looking at me as she's running by. Coach, did you see that? And I'm like, yes, man, and
Poetry in motion. Love it.
yeah, and it's just poetry in motion. And, it's those moments, as a coach where you say, that's why I do this. Like,
Yeah.
if she makes it and changes her mind that she does want to play, that's just gravy on top of, she's a kid, right? She's having a blast with her girlfriends playing basketball. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
how it doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion, for a kid. So,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right. And it's just like, I'm a big Office fan. It's like those are the glory. How do you know you're in the glory days without knowing you're in the glory days, right? Like
Yeah.
that's something that, it is just what it all, from a outside the 99%, right? Outside of the 1% that are going to
Yeah.
make
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah. Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah.
To be able to have fun with your friends, to make memories, right? And to, be active, right? Right.
Yeah.
That's and the lessons that you learn along the way are to your words, gravy. So like that, yeah, I love that. And it's stuff like that that I think is just missing, right? Because
Mhm.
of this, right?
Yeah.
You don't see that. And when you do see that, right? If someone could capture that, that would go viral, right? Because that the pureness of that is the essence of sport, right? And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
purest. So
Yeah. And you nailed it, right? The pureness of that, because that was just pure joy
mhm.
for something we practice on. She executed it like nobody, right, on the court and was able to, help the team succeed. But yeah, do you think? Do you think we're taking the joy out of sports? And as commercial as we're getting, or as
Yeah.
more VC money comes in and private
Yeah.
equity.
I don't.
Okay.
I think that will be very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a utopia or in that sense, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
picture that as like a gray, just like people walking around kicking the ball. Like it hasn't got to there yet. And once again, I'm more of a an optimist when it comes to this, right? Like even like I said, I was at my nephew's flag football game. Those kids were having a ball, right? Like
That's
they were
awesome. How old are
absolute.
they?
I believe he's like first grade.
Okay,
Um,
so really young. Yeah,
yeah, super
that's
young, but they were
awesome.
having
Yeah,
such a good time, and
great.
even and even at a Made Hoops event, right? Even these top kids, right, that are coming in at a all-star game or all-star camp, right? They're
Hmm.
having
Hmm.
they're getting to meet kids that through that AAU system, yeah, they probably played against, but haven't spent a week or a weekend together with, right? Like there's something to that culture too of like, okay, this is cool, and these connections that you make are not really like anything else in the world
Yeah,
at high school space, right? Like, yeah, there's probably like tech conferences and things that you can go to and math clubs and debate teams and stuff like that. But sport brings people together and it makes joy for a lot of other people, and that's a main reason I'm in it because it's the
yeah.
last thing that people watch on TV. I spent a lot of years with that narrative, and I'll stick with it. And it's an easy conversation that I don't know, probably more than half of the world can relate to.
Well, and given what you do on a daily basis between the newsletter and Made Hoops, I would imagine the amount of sports media content you're consuming
Yeah. Yeah,
was,
it's
yeah,
next level.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, I would say, right, I try to, where possible, right, tell the good in sport because I truly believe
yeah,
there's plenty of outlets that tell the bad in sport and all that good stuff, and some of
right.
it's clickbaity and stuff like that, and that's fine, right? There's a time and place for that. Like I'm not going to knock people for doing that because whatever stories need to get told. But like in this youth sports space, like man, there's so much grit and grind that goes into it. And I've seen it behind the scenes of like
Yeah,
how hard it is to put on one of these events, let alone like a Made Hoops that is putting on five of these events in one weekend, right
it's
across the
crazy.
country.
Yeah,
Man, these operations, these content, these team operators, man, they are some of the hardest workers that you can't like. And then for some outlet to be like blah blah blah, like bad bad bad, like you have no idea what's going on behind the
yeah.
scenes. Like, I'll tell you, like some of these people don't sleep, right? Like
Oh
they're
yeah.
so they're so like to put on an event for these kids, right? They're just so locked in and so excited to do that yeah, it's just that whole negative culture of that, and especially in youth sports, that yeah, warranted, right? Whatever that means of taking advantage, blah blah blah. Like yeah, cool. We can have that conversation. I'll talk to anyone about that. But I know what goes behind the scenes, and it's not the most glamorous work. So
It
I'll
is not.
go back. Yeah.
Yeah, I in it just in the Bay Area, there's, I would say three large tournament operators, and one of them I'm pretty close with, and I just like I don't know how you do this. They're doing 32 events
Man.
a year, and you have coaches in general aren't the most organized people in the world,
Yeah.
right? So, just teams falling out or pulling out at the last minute, not making a commitment to
Right.
doing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have the patience. I
Right.
wouldn't have the patience for that.
So there's only so many AI tools that it can help you with all that stuff. That it's
Oh my
a
gosh.
relationship business.
Yeah, it really is. Well, I want to dive into this report that you recently released that was a big hit.
Yeah,
And you took a deep dive into the youth sports market. Um, what do you think was the biggest surprise to you? I mean, you live and breathe this every day, so this is going to be a big surprise. Uh, what do you think after all the research that you did, and maybe just tee this up. Tell me what the report, tell our listeners what the
yeah, for
report
sure.
was about, and then your biggest surprise.
Yeah. So we worked with the Connecticut Group, which is a data firm here in the States, and and elsewhere. And they were kind enough to give us a nice sneak peek and give us the keys to the castle to pull some awesome data in the youth sports space. And what we were trying to articulate is just the vastness of the youth sports space, right? You
Okay.
see all these numbers with B's in front of them, behind them. And we wanted to hone in on that a little bit more, right?
Hmm.
Because round numbers are great, but we wanted to dig layers and layers deep. Um, so what we were able to find, right, is the total addressable market, right? And there we in the report, if I can send it to you and you can or link it wherever.
I like it. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. What we did is we took what's out there now, right, in the general pop, and you see Aspen Institute, I think, was one of the lead sources of it, and they pull a lot of resources from different aspects, right? So what we were really trying to solve for is what's out there now and what people have been seeing, and that market we uncovered is more of the travel ball, and a lot of where the money's going, which is awesome, right? Like that's obviously the new of youth sports, and what that looks like in that evolution that we were just hitting on. Um, where the Connecticut group was able to help kind of uncover is that extra bit that, hey, this isn't sport ball, this is just any activity that I deem youth sport, right?
Okay.
It may be rec, it may be just a camp that someone hosts. It's the opportunity to move and play, right? Like, and what
Okay.
we want to do is put numbers and figures to that. So I believe the numbers that came back were the TAM of the travel ball was around 40 billion, and then the TAM of the whole ecosystem in general is around 54 billion. So some pretty big numbers. And then I've worked in the professional and collegiate world for a long time, and I was just curious. This actually wasn't in the in there, but it's an exclusive for you. Is I think it's NFL, NBA, NHL, MLS, all put together revenue is 55 billion. So it's just
Yeah.
one more, which is honestly, that was like my biggest like, whoa, like this
Yeah.
is crazy. Obviously, very fragmented, and there's different aspects of everything in youth sport, but that was my like wow factor of just how big this industry is and how little attention it garners, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and right, case in point, the U Sports Business Report started a year ago, and it's obviously great and it's growing, but it's still very niche, right? And
Yeah.
there's no reason why it can't be, one of the top leading voices in all sport, right? And that's the goal, hopefully. Um, but yeah, I'd say that was my biggest just absolute wow factor. Along with what parents are spending on and how much they're
Yeah.
spending like that. I have nieces and nephews, and obviously my brothers pay for all that stuff right now, and I'm not quite there yet. But even in my made hoops days, I know how much these parents are spending and time and travel. It's crazy, right? And
Yeah. Yeah,
there's
for sure.
such an opportunity for a ton of help in the space across all facets of it. So
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to take a deeper dive into that too, but because there it is, you can unpack that and we could talk about all kinds of aspects of youth sports and where the money's flowing and opportunities. But where do you think wh- just even like okay, you got the numbers, you digested this all.
yeah,
Like, what does that mean? Like besides like, okay, wow,
yeah,
and maybe this kind of leads into your future path that you
yeah,
alluded to or we talked about off air. So
yeah.
uh, maybe dive into some of that, or what does this all
Yeah,
mean for parents and youth sports and the whole ecosystem?
100%. And yeah, and it's for me, it opened my eyes, and this has been in the works, and um, the U Sports Business Report spinning out an agency of sorts, with people from my past life that have or past careers, not life, coming into the space and helping. articulate that, right? The clearest path in talking to a lot of market leaders is, hey, there's opportunity to do a lot, but guess what? Like it's expensive, and to make real change, like you're going to need to either raise a lot of money, i.e.,
Yeah.
private institutional capital, or
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
there's a lot of brands out there that want to get in this world. They just don't know where, how, when, where to start, what
Absolutely.
the heck
Yeah.
is going on. And that's where my, past career was and currently is and made. And the launching of Play Up Partners with Dale Song and Scott Wolf and myself will help bridge that gap between um, you know brand advertisers and this youth sports market with the ethos of let's make youth sports better, right? And there's a couple things that go into that, right? Like we
Yeah.
want to elevate, youth sports properties and operators, right, to their own, chagrin. Like these operators are focused on putting on an event and putting on a great event. As I articulated, that's not easy to do, right? That a lot of effort goes into that. So it's not on them that they're not thinking about, oh, I can get X brand to come in and sponsor and underwrite the cost of admission, right? Like that's a new concept in this world, right? There's a couple, examples. Little League, obviously, World Series has been around for a while and it's on ESPN and it
Yeah.
has all of that prowess to it, but it's just not the case for 95% of the market. And what we're, doing is bridging that gap, right? We know how the marketers speak, right?
Yeah.
We've done the biggest deals and worked with some really awesome and really smart brands that want to create actual investments and platforms, both on the collegiate and pro space. And as you very well know, there's opportunity in white space to make an absolute footprint and help out a lot of people. And what I keep telling my partners is you got to like put away like the sponsorship nomenclature. Yeah, there's a time and place for
Mhm.
that, but
Yeah.
I have seen it firsthand. Investments into this space lift up businesses and lift up the whole ecosystem. And it's crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ability for us to elevate our events and get more events and open up community events and raise the number of content people we have and the refs and scorekeeping and technology, right? And that's from a couple of brand deals that the brands were didn't even have that revelation of like, oh my gosh, we're investing in this space and it's helping this space and it's only helping our investment into this space, right? Like
Yeah.
that whole thesis of ours is, what we're going to try to, accomplish. And I think there's a really, we hope that it's well received by both sides. And it's something that we're really excited to do and, help this space grow. And to your point, right, like that's where we want to make our mark, right? As phase two, phase one was the business report and, the
Mhm.
B2B side of it and helping tell the stories of youth sport, right? And then using the agency to help bring in real change. And then I won't get to them now, but there's phases three and four that are going to be down the road that we can catch up on a different time.
Yeah, no, perfect. And that's smart. I mean, we kind of built Coaching Youth Hoops the same way in that, we've built, this is our third year, we have a couple hundred podcasts. My business partner has Teach Hoops,
Mhm.
combined. We're doing, over 1 million impressions across YouTube and the pod
It's amazing.
downloads. We have, 5 podcasts now. And, the now we're looking at, okay, well, what's next? How else can we help our coaches? And our overarching mission is to positively influence 1 million kids through
Love
the
that.
game, the sports, right? Just plain and
Love it.
simple. And how can we do that, right? And so now we're looking at, how do we integrate tech and where does tech come into play
Yeah.
in all of this too? So we're actively and launching new tech products in the space. But then we also have the audience, right, that we're
Yep.
speaking to. So it's a great combination. And, we're trying to help our coaches and families, like you said, you keep on saying this message, which is just make youth sports better,
Yeah.
right?
Just make it
Yeah.
better. Simple. If you wake up every day with that mission,
can't go wrong, right? I mean,
Can't
if
go
you're
wrong.
trying to do the right thing, even
Yeah,
if you don't reach it 100%,
right.
right? Yeah.
And we've even seen it to the point of turning down things, right? That we're just like,
Yeah.
sorry, like doesn't fit our mission. If this sniffs some, the wrong, person and this gets out, like, hey, our whole business model is gone, right? And we
Right.
we
Right.
on like
Yeah.
hand to God, we have done that, and it's something that like I said, we're values and mission driven people, and it's something that we're going to stay very true to.
All right, we're going to end with some rapid fire
Do
questions.
it.
All right, you ready? Okay.
Yes.
What is one thing you wish every parent understood about youth sports?
I said this at the start, but I will say it again.
Okay.
That hey, 1% make it pro, right? Have
Mhm.
fun. Your kid could be the next Michael Jordan, or could be the next Cameron Korab, right? Like let's put that on, let's put that lens on. But yeah, that's what I'd give.
Okay. All right. Biggest pet peeve on the sidelines. One for players, two for parents.
Ooh, well, that
You've
might.
seen a lot of events, so I'm
Yeah,
sure you've seen some
listen.
interesting situations going on.
We at Made we try to get the best refs
Of
and
course.
we also have three refs on a game, but like that's Made, right? Like that
You
it's
have
just,
three refs on a game?
yeah, it's top tier, right? Like it's
Yeah,
it's it's excellent ball, right?
that's amazing. Yeah.
Whereas Little League down down the street and here in Arlington is it's got little Timmy from eighth grade, right? He's
Right.
getting paid minimum wage to be there.
Yeah.
Uh, and is trying to, take his girlfriend out for ice cream by doing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep your thoughts to yourself, please.
Mm,
That's my biggest thing from a parent and
yeah.
from a kid's perspective, right? Like I I think it's when other parents are screaming at you, and then your parents get involved with their
Yeah.
parents. Like
Yeah.
that's good
Yeah.
for no one, right? It's
Hmm.
if you got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So, yeah, and I'd hope that resonates with your listeners.
Oh, I'm sure it does. And we've talked about it before too. So
Yeah.
it's good to have it reinforced. All right. Favorite underdog story you've been a part of?
Favorite underdog story I've been a part of. Honestly, I think I'm building it right now. Youth sports
That's
business,
awesome. Okay.
honestly, one of the most underrepresented, right? It's the marketplace that's driving it, right? It's something that we really hope is going to like be a resource, and it's something that a lot of people when I started were like, "What are you doing? Like, why? Like, this is dumb. Like, you
Yeah.
it's business, like, ugh." And then you put the couple billion in front of them, like, "Oh, okay." And it's to the point where guess what? I used to work with someone, my old boss is now coming to join me, right? Like this
That's
is
awesome.
incredible stuff that like that I could only dream of, and it's stuff that it reminds me of the 2016 Cubs, $100 all the way. And
Yeah.
we're
I
hopefully
love
going to make
it.
it a World Series trophy.
There you go. Okay. One piece of advice you'd give a brand new coach on day one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would say honestly, like, depending on the level of where we're at in this coach, but get to know your players like off the court, right? Like
Mm-hmm,
you
hmm.
can, man, I forgot I was listening to. I think it was Ryan Day and CJ Stroud maybe on You Think podcast. And
Hmm.
funny enough, they didn't see eye to eye, which I didn't know. And I'm not a Ohio State fan, but they didn't see eye to eye like in any manner, right? And they had
Hmm.
I think it was about like a dad or parent situation, and
Yeah.
they sat in the office and talked for 8 hours or something like that, something
Holy,
crazy.
holy
And
cow.
they gained that mutual respect and had something, in common that they talked about. And I think players can relate and have a lot more respect, I think, for lack of a better term, for their coach when they get to know each other outside of the X's and O's.
Yeah. And last question, since you're going to be working with brands in this space, what's one piece of advice you give a brand that's exploring the space?
I'd say be very open. There are lots of avenues and ways of getting in, and a lot of opportunity to really make an impact, both on
Mm-hmm.
the operator, parent, athlete side, right? Don't be so quick to pull the trigger of youth sports. Oh, I'm marketing to 12-year-olds and 8-year-olds. Like, no.
Yeah, you're
Um,
marketing to their
no.
parents, right?
Yes. And you're
Yeah.
also opening the opportunity for a lot more things. Like I said, it's an investment, in the future of sport, which is, at the end of the day, one way to make youth sports better.
Yeah. And if there's something we didn't talk about, is there a subject or something else you just kind of want to end with that we might have missed or question? You had expectations coming into today. Is there something that might have missed?
Yeah, no, I think we nailed it all. Like, if anyone has any questions for for myself after this, like, feel free to reach out. Our admin email is on New Sports Business Report, so we're more than happy to have conversations. I think this is how we make youth sports better, is having these conversations.
Yeah.
And doing it in the best light, right? There's a time for business and there's a time to have, really smart people get on and talk about how we can change and solve and just thought leadership, really, which I'm excited to keep going on.
Well, Cameron, really appreciate your time. Thanks for being on the show. And again, tell everyone the URL of U Sports Insider.
Yeah. So usportsbusinessreport.com. You can find our newsletter there. We post our newsletter Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. A lot more content will be out by the time this comes out, so we're
Yeah.
really excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, check us out in our anywhere, and LinkedIn is one of our top outlets. And please feel free to reach out to me if you have any particulars.
Yeah. And if you're interested in the U Sports business, his newsletter is top. So you guys do a great job. Lots of great content in there. It's
Appreciate it.
on my top must reads when it comes out. So I really keep up the great work.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Till next time.
All
All
right.
right, coaches. Thank you for your time today, and our time with Cameron hopefully was well spent. You pulled a few nuggets away, and we'll see you next time on Coaching Youth Hoops podcast.
Hey coach, sitting here, I hope you enjoyed that video. Nothing better than sitting in an empty gym. Let me know how I can help you become a better basketball coach. Go over and check out, subscribe and like. You'll get notifications on all of these. And let me know if I can help you put one of these on your wall or with your youth program or wherever you are. So go over, check it out, teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.